and he fucking quit OCS. Like he quit after OCS. He didn't go in the Marine Corps. So I was watching and editing this morning. I'm like, fuck, if I said this here, if I put this in over here, like the video just has a lot more, like it's a lot more better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got to go do that. And then I'm going to do a reaction video to Jay's video just because like I dropped 2 videos that got ineligible. So they got fucking ineligible because I used a Major League Baseball clip in one, and then the other one
so
is
stupid.
yeah, I used the 9/11 attacks, the plane hitting the Twin Towers, and so it made both my videos ineligible. So I lost like $600 in revenue in fucking 1 week. Not that I care, I don't really give a shit about it, but I'm trying to get it to go up, and then if it's going down, you ain't going in the right direction. So
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, we are live for this whole conversation, so hopefully you.
I know. I saw you. I saw. No, it turned red. It turned red. That's why I was like, he turned it red. So.
I gotcha. Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the War Room Podcast. Right, we have John on the show today. The rest of the goons, they're out there at SHOT Show. John, you ever go to SHOT Show?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Too busy this
Have
year.
you been? Have you been, Jay?
I've never been, man.
Doug, I'm gonna say this. So I got asked to go after I did the first TV show on Top Shot, right? And I thought it was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
what is it exactly? Like, what the fuck do they do down
It's
there?
the #1 outdoor equipment show in the world. So, like, if you think about anything outdoors, it's there. Like, everybody outdoors is there. Like, anybody dealing with the government and sales of outdoor shit is there. Like, it's the big ass. It's massive, but I just thought it was like a bunch of new guns and a bunch of shit. Like I grew up in outdoors, so I don't care about any of that shit. Does the coat keep me warm? Do my boots keep me dry? Does the gun shoot when I fucking pull the trigger? That's all I really care about, you know?
I'm the same way. A lot of times guys will ask like, what's the best gear for this? What's the best gear for that? I'm like, dude, I'm not a gear junkie at all. Like I find the shit that works and I stick with that and I run with it until it breaks and time to replace it. So very narrow field of focus in regards to gear.
Yeah, same here, man. Yeah. Like a lot of guys, dude, and I apply the same philosophy to guns. Like I have 2 pistols. I got a 17 and I got a fucking like an XD that I conceal with, and then I got a fucking long gun, and then I got a sniper rifle. And then I'll go to dudes' house and they got like 30 fucking guns. And it's certain things I just don't understand, and that's one of them, right? I'm like, if one gun breaks, I just buy another one, man. Like I'm not a collector of stuff. I'm a collector of money. You know what I mean? Money and assets. That's about the only thing I collect. Yep. Everything else, I'm like, no, I'm good. But anyways, the rest of the guys are down at SHOT Show. I know Aaron's down there. Nate's down there again after it. By all means, hope you guys enjoy. Now, is it like a multi-day thing or is it just one day? I think it's like a week, right?
It's a long. But see, here's the deal, Jay. It's a big, like, so back in the day, like even in '98, they had it. I don't know what it was called, but like the SEALs would go, right? Like, so you'd send somebody out there to be like, all right, what's the new gear out there, right? And so, like, all of the contracting companies, like ADS has a huge booth out there. Atlantic Dive Supply, my boy's the CEO of it, right? Like, there's a big expo. There's called the Warriors Expo, I think, in Tampa. It's kind of the same deal, but it's really more geared towards contractors. But SHOT Show is a worldwide event. So, like, people are coming in from all over the world to see, like, what's new. You know, I all the videos coming across my feed, the 50 cal drum magazine, right? I'm like, oh yeah, it's fucking great. Like, okay, I need one of those, right? Like, now I guess if you're doing air interdiction, you want to put more holes in the engine, having a drum magazine would be good, but the 12 rounds or whatever the fucking 50 cal comes with is probably enough unless you just fucking suck. But you wouldn't be running the gun if you sucked. So
yeah. I tell you what, nobody wants to carry around a 50 round fucking 50 cal magazines. All right. And if you do, by all means, hats off to you. But either way, all the folks down there at SHOT Show, enjoy. If you guys are watching us live right now from SHOT Show, please let us know in the comment section. And keep in mind, guys, if you guys have questions, please put them in the comment section. We got a couple of topics to cover today. We'll hit those, and then we'll make sure everybody's questions in the chat gets answered. So yeah, Aaron, Nate, Shot Show, bro, what's Ben doing? I know you keep track of Ben, Jake. I have no
No.
idea where Ben
So
is.
Ben
Oh, he's
has
got a
his.
conference, right?
He's holding a conference. I'm going to it. Matter of fact, I think I'm supposed to be on it right now. I had totally forgot, but I signed up for his conference, and I'm gonna go to it.
Okay, perfect.
You
Yeah,
know
so Ben is
that
getting
dude.
after it.
Yeah, that dude. That I tell people like you don't want to like the circles he runs in. I'm like, man, they way at the top of the food chain. So he got to hunt some more people, and he has this conference that he has every. He was doing it once a year, but now he's going to do it more often because it does really good for him.
Perfect. Yeah. But guys, this is episode 36. Again, today we have John joining us, and then Peaches. I feel dirty every time I say his name. He'll join us later on. He's just running a little late, right? So with all that said, John, if you don't mind, man, let the folks know who you are, where you grew up, background, military career, and what you got going on right now. We'll probably ask you a couple of questions here and there before we jump into these topics.
Yeah. So from couple different places, moved 18 times before I was 18, primarily on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, down to Arizona. I'm down in Arizona now. Joined the Army at 18. I originally joined as EOD, didn't make it. I was a hurt locker baby, and then ended up in the 160th. Luckily, did a couple rotations there, supported some SF teams, and that's really what made me want to go SF. So after I got back from an Iraq trip, dropped a packet, went to selection, and then ended up in 10th group out in Colorado. Finished up my couple years there and got out. Now I'm down in Arizona. Started up Infinite Grit, where we provide strength and conditioning coaching for tactical athletes primarily. We got myself, 2 other GBs that I worked with, and then we have a strength and conditioning coach that's a head strength coach down at 375. So we're focused on providing the fitness component of that there, and then just living in Arizona. Got a baby on the way, doing May and living life, man.
That's awesome.
Is that the
man.
first kid, John?
First kid.
Ooh, how old are you?
31.
Oh fuck, you're a baby, bro.
Yeah,
I just asked. I had my first kid at 40, and I'm like, yeah, that shit. I'm really glad I had him in 40 and not 30, because
boy, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I got 3 boys, but
nice.
it's just like you think you want a kid and shit, and then you get one, you realize, man, fuck, I can't act the way I used to act, and at 30 I couldn't control that shit. I acted the way I was, so.
Yeah.
I'm 53 and I'm struggling with that sometimes. Yeah.
Peaches, how does it feel, man? Like I see the hair growth starting to come out. How does it feel?
It's slow going. It feels good though. It feels real good.
That's awesome.
I'm not gonna go super long with like the Fu Manchu or anything like that. But I gotta keep it short and respectable.
Yeah, dude, does it feel weird waking up and not shaving and not getting ready to go to work?
Yeah, it's weird. I actually had somebody at the house today doing a work on our garage door because it broke, and he's like, "Hey man, what do you do?" I'm like, "Shit, I'm actually unemployed." Like I'm unemployed, dude. It's too weird to go, awesome. Yeah, I got a YouTube channel. Like it's just weird.
I'm a military influencer. Yeah. I'm a vet, bro. Yeah. Like, no, I don't know what I get the same question because I'm an entrepreneur, so I work for myself, and that's one of the things that I wanted to be able to do once I retired. Was I made 20 years worth of sacrifice, working in the military, investing. So when I did get out on the back end, I didn't have to go answer to anybody. I spent all this time answering to. You know what? All love to all my old military leaders out there, but some fucking idiots that were younger than I was, dumber than I was, but they had the right rank. So I had to listen to them. And I was like, you know what? Once I get out, I'm going to set things up to where I don't have to listen to anybody else except for my wife, right? That's it. But
and so she wields a big hammer too.
Yeah, she does. And I learned not to buck that system. I'm like, yep. Whatever you want, honey. What advice do you guys have for John? Him being this being his first baby. What advice would you guys give him if you guys had any? Since all you guys on the panel have hell, Peaches has like grown kids, so we're gonna be.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be pinging you here as my kids get older.
Yeah, I got an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old of each, boy and girl. But
Yeah,
man, it's tough. I get. How old's your kid? I kind of came in on the middle of it.
Due in May.
Oh snap!
Yeah,
Get them in the pool. Like no kidding. I'm being dead serious. Like you can take your kids in the pool. They're in water right now. They're in liquid, So get them in a pool early. My daughter, both of my kids are fish. My daughter is the older one. So it took me a while to convince my wife to allow me to take her into the pool. So she was, I don't know, probably around 12 weeks or something like that, 12 weeks old. But my son, I had him in at like 2 or 3 weeks in the pool, and he's doing subsurface stuff, and like it was fantastic. So get him in the pool. Oh yeah, dude, it was water baby. And now like it's crazy to see grown ass kids that are like, wearing life vests and water wings, and you're like, and then my kids are like, how deep can I go? Like, can I touch the bottom? I'm like, I don't know, go find out. And they're just like straight down, you know what I mean? Like it's so they can save their lives, they can save other people's lives. Like it's super important.
Wow.
That's amazing advice, man. Because so last year I got my kids into swimming lessons. One's 3, the other's 4. I didn't realize you can fit. I didn't even think about it. Well, guess Peaches, not all of us own fucking pools, okay? Like I didn't have a pool.
Whoa. Not all of us are combat divers, are we?
Nope.
Yeah, I guess I gotta learn to swim too.
Hey, Jake, you're muted, my man.
All right. So listen, here's the math behind it. If you get the kid before 6 months into the water, they automatically know how to swim. Between 6 and 9 months, they lose that ability. Okay. Now they got a thing like out here, we got aquatots, which is like this, like it's in a strip mall, and it wasn't super expensive. And you take your kids and they learn how to swim. The other thing is, like, if you own a pool, yes, you own a pool, then I tell every parent, like, if you don't teach that kid how to swim, then you're going to have a problem. And so
absolutely.
I tell, like, I have 3 boys. The oldest one could swim. The little dude thought he could swim, and the middle dude refused to take his life jacket off. So we moved into a house with a pool, and I immediately told him that he was not allowed to go outside anymore with a life jacket on. And so he didn't get to swim maybe 2 days. And then he came outside, sat on the step, and slowly he got in the water. But over the course of the last 4 years, like my 3 kids literally can swim anything they need to swim at this point, But yeah, Peaches gives great advice. Like, get them in the pool early. A lot of people are terrified, but like they literally know how to swim when they're little, and they teach them to roll over on their back, and then they literally are super buoyant. So they just float around in the pool on their back. And, if they're in the pool and you need to go rescue them because they're floating around, then you probably should go to jail. But that's just my 2 cents, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
The advice I'm going to give you, I'll give you 2 advices, okay? So when they first born, they're going to have this black shit come out of their ass that's tar, okay? No one told me this. It was stupid, okay? Don't use wet wipes to clean it. Use soapy, warm water, and it'll come right off, okay? Didn't learn that until the 3rd kid. Okay? Now, the other piece of advice doesn't go for the kid. It goes for you and your wife. Okay. So you got May coming up. Well, we got 3-4 months. Okay. So in about a month from now, she's going to turn into the exorcist. All right. And everybody laughs. Oh, no. Okay. Whatever. Stupid shit's going to piss her off. You're going to piss her off. Like it's just, I thought, okay, good. I got 3 months. Baby will be here. Shit will go back to normal. Okay. Well, no one told me that shit is not the case. And you got about 9 months until hormones come back to normal levels. And you're going to deal with the exorcist for another 9 months. Okay. And it was really tough. On my 2nd kid, I knew it was coming and I still struggled to deal with it. And it took my wife about 9 months, both kids, all 3 kids, about 9 months. And then she came back to normal. So I could do the same shit I was doing before that I wasn't allowed to do for basically the year that she was pregnant, 3 months leading up, and then the 9 months post. So just be aware that like your wife ain't going to come back to being normal for about 9 months. And people are like, oh, and then they're like, they see that shit and they're like, God damn, you're right. I'm like, yeah, like it's fucking crazy. So try to fight through all of the craziness when she won't let you out in the morning and shit. You can't go work out. Why not? Yeah, you can't go. Fuck. All right, whatever. Sit your ass back on the couch, so.
I guess same with that postpartum depression too. Like that is a very, very real thing that not everybody gets it, right? But like even if they don't completely go into the trenches of postpartum depression, like that you'll start seeing some stuff. So it's just good to keep an eye out as you're a team, right?
Yeah.
Trying to take over the world. Like you got to look out, just like you'd look out for one of us. Same kind of thing.
Have a little
Yes.
patience during that time for sure.
Yeah.
I got one more. Does she have a great relationship with her mom?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Is her mom in the area?
Yeah.
Ask her mom. Oh, she lives in the area?
Yeah. She comes by like every day.
Okay, so let me tell you something. For the first month, you just tell mom, listen, if you need anything, you could post up here. If you need me to move over to your house, I'll sleep over there. Because all she's going to care about is the baby. And mom, like my wife's mom was here for the first 2 kids, and it was a completely different experience than the third kid. So just keep that in mind. Like she don't want you at all. Like, but mom can do a lot of good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
So two pieces of advice for you, John. Number one, stay by the head. I don't care what anybody tells you. Just stay by the head. All right. No, Jake, no. Stay by the head because I got roped into. No, just stay by the head. All right. All right. A piece of advice number 2, to Jake's point, the first 6 weeks or so, it's all about that baby, right? Your needs, whatever it is that you're gonna want, it's not gonna matter at all to her. All right. Just know that it's temporary. And at that point, you know, it's all about the baby and making sure that the baby has everything that the baby needs. All right. So just keep that in mind. And just know that if you guys think you've had heated fights before, just know that there's going to be a lot more heated fights to come once this baby gets here. Right. But at the end of the day, as long as you as a man understand that, okay, yeah, it's hormonal and yes, it's about the baby, like you guys should be fine. Right.
Yeah.
But with all that said, by for the best fucking accomplishment, the best title that I've had in my entire life is to be a father. You know what I mean? So it's a joy within itself, man. So congratulations to you, and I hope everything works out, brother.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
One more nightmare scenario: vaccinations. Okay, so this is what I'm going to tell you. Make sure you go do your vaccination research. I didn't let none of my kids got shot more than one time. Okay. But I'm going to tell you this, the MMR shot, and I'm going to say this on African-American boys is fucking catastrophic. Okay.
Really?
And oh, absolutely. It fucked up my first son, but my first son came back. It fucked up my second son, and we got some stuff going on there. I didn't give it to my third son until he was 4 years old, and he ate that shit like it didn't even affect him. So from my experience on 3 boys with shots, no one ever got more than 1 shot at a time. I don't give a shit if I had to come back to the doctor. We fired a pediatrician in the beginning because she wouldn't do it. She wanted to give him 6 shots at his 1-month appointment. And I was like, we're leaving. She was like, you can't leave. And I basically, I got in trouble.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got trouble. I got in trouble in the doctor's office. Okay. Cause you know what that meant to me. Like I went straight fucking like, okay, lady, we're leaving. And I picked up my kid and my wife was crying. And the doctor was like, I'm going to call social services. And I said, you do what you got to do, but you don't want me coming back to this motherfucker. Yeah. She was like, oh. And so then we DD Mowed out. But like, I'm just telling you,
to see that.
do your research, John,
Yeah,
on vaccinations.
We've been looking into it and we've been like shopping around different providers, and many of the providers, unless you do the whole vaccine schedule, they won't even accept you. They'll kick you out, which is crazy to me.
So let me say this. My roommate from college, wife is German. Them motherfuckers ain't got no vaccinations.
Yeah.
Okay. She got them. she got him something, one of the ones, polio or some shit, when they were like 10, and she's like, that's all I gave them. You're saying, Peaches, your kids don't have no vaccinations?
No. Mine were, because I was naive and going like, hey man, I trust everything the government says. Like, why would there be anything bad or negative? All these things are tested. But then when you actually sit here and think about it, you got a brand new, a newborn, a series of 6 injections that are just all this shit piled in there. And you're like, dude, that makes 0 sense. Like, what? So now that I'm black pilled or whatever it is, like, yeah, man, I would not do that again.
And the other thing is that you go do all your research, John. I'll tell people what to do, but I'm going to tell you this. Go look at when the fucking autism rates in the United States started going through the fucking roof, and it's all tied directly to when vaccinations came online.
Yeah.
So when they combined measles, mumps, and rubella, when they started giving all that shit, and then all of a sudden now we had like 7,000 times the amount of autism that we had just 15, 20 years ago. So, and it's coming from vaccinations. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. The food shit is an issue too, but vaccinations, because I saw it with my fucking kids. So.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys, we'll jump right into topics for today, which is going to be a whole lot of Donald Trump. All right, inauguration just took place. We have a new government in place. How are you guys feeling? Dude fired a shit ton of people already. A bunch of security clearance were redacted. Under this new administration, how are you guys feeling right now before we jump into some of these topics? We'll start with you, John.
Future looks bright. I feel good. I think
that's a good way to put it.
I was obviously in the military for a couple different administrations, and just being on the DoD side, like, you can really feel the difference in administration. I felt the difference in how things were ran, what was going on in the military when Trump was in office versus when Biden came in. And I'm glad that Trump is in there doing a lot of good work already and turning things around.
Absolutely. He signed a shit ton of executive orders
Yeah.
on his first day. It's like this dude is like, you know what? This is I got a second shot here. I don't have a lot of time. Like, I have 2 years technically to get shit done. Let me fucking get after it. Jake, how you feeling under this new administration? January 20th was what, 4 days ago?
4 days ago. I'm just going to say this. I think Trump is being weak and he's not doing enough. So I think he's
Not
done a
moving
lot.
fast enough.
Shit. I mean, how long does it take to sign a fucking signature, right? Like, if he got 100 executive orders, why don't he have 1,000 done already, right? Like, yeah. I mean, everything he's doing, like, we're gonna talk DEI later with that crazy ass trash can fire, but like, I think he could do more, man. Like, he ain't firing people fast enough, in my opinion. He ain't pulling us like he should. Day one, he should have fired all these cats and really made a statement. I know we're on day 4, but I want more faster. But I love change, and obviously, if Kamala had won, we'd all have forest fires in our backyard.
Peaches?
Yeah, I want to bring something up real quick. I'm going to share a screen.
Sure.
So I actually kind of agree with Jake. I like what he's doing right now. Could he be more aggressive? Absolutely. But you know what? Whatever. At this point, as long as he's doing it, it's better than what we had, right?
Yeah.
So this is my Air Force base, just to be clear. Right? This was yesterday. Now, I will tell you that a email base wide went out saying, hey, the DEI office is being closed down as of noon today. So if you have any forecasted training or anything like that, like, you can go ahead and you're going to have to cancel it and that kind of stuff. But like, it's a different environment now going into places and now I'm going to tell you right now, I hope these general officers are sweating it right now. I really do. Because there are some that have got to go because of how toxic they are. It is so bad.
I tell you what, man, one thing I would say that's different than Jake's point is when you're moving and steering a fucking ship as big as like the Titanic, like you can't just whip that shit around. Like it has to be like a slow, deliberate movement. Could you imagine he goes in there and just fires every? Do you remember his first term when he had a shit ton of vacancies? He had posts that didn't even have people in them; they were just vacant. Like I think he's being very strategic on how he moves because he does. At the end of the day, he doesn't want to break the government. Like I've had guys back in group like team sergeant that were really gung-ho and they're like, oh, this team, like they get appointed as that team sergeant and like they have this plan. They're just gonna go in there and just fire all the fucked up dudes that are on that team. But then they realize, oh, if I go in there and fire 10 dudes, I'm not gonna have a team. You know what I mean? So they slowly have to go in there and remove one and hire another one and just slowly kind of fade the old administration out and have the new one come in. So I think that might be what he's doing. Like he's attacking like the most egregious ones up front, and then he's slowly, imposing his will on all the other ones. So that's my take on that. But at the end of the day, dude, like it just feels like everything's is different, right? Like you got fucking generals getting fired, you got DEI offices closing, like everything is changing.
Well, and everybody just seems like they're happier. Like my wife came back in yesterday and she's English. So, she's a citizen now, but like she's lived over here for, I don't know, 14 years now or whatever. But even she went out yesterday and hit the store and everything. She's like, dude, everybody is just in a better mood right now. I can't tell you how many people were like smiling and saying hi and all this stuff. Everybody seems like they're in a better mood. And I'm like, yeah, man, I think that's what happened on Monday. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll jump into the first one here, which is abolishing diversity, equity, and inclusion program and introducing MEI, which is essentially promoting folks and hiring folks based on merit instead of the color of their skins. All right. So President Trump signed an executive order dismantling federal DEI initiative, replacing them with MEI-focused policies. This new approach prioritizes hiring and promotion based on merit, operational efficiency, and institutional integrity. So he put out a message to the entire government: hey, if you were hired because of DEI, don't fucking come in. All right. You are on paid leave. Don't come to the office until you are told otherwise. Jake, I know you're very passionate about this one. What are your thoughts?
So I think when you talk to people, DEI is the biggest trash can fire in the history of mankind, because you have dumb shit like California has right now in LA, where they made a non-fire person in charge of the fire department, and they got some fucking idiot in charge of the city, right? So great, we got a black female as the mayor of LA, and the place is burning to the ground and no one can do anything, right? So I work in this space and I call it the success space, right? Like I've got well, let's just say this. I diversified probably the hardest environment in America. I didn't diversify it by trying to diversify it. I tried to find the best individuals and put them into this hardest ass environment. Now, everybody's like, oh my God, you've got all of these minorities. I'm like, yeah. And I got twice as many non-minorities in the same fucking job. Because as I find good ones, I give them the same fucking feed I give everybody else, and they turn out to be fucking phenomenal. And that's the part that's missed. I tell everybody, as a country, like you really want to, and I'm going to say this, I think it was all put in place to really just fucking upset everybody, right? Like white people are mad, black people are mad, Hispanics are mad. At the end of the day, the only problem we have is all the Americans aren't together. Like that's what it really comes down to. And everybody has a reason now to be pissed off because someone got appointed. Like when someone don't even work in the fire department, they get appointed as the fire chief, you know there's a fucking problem. All right. Like that's why LA is burning down. Okay. Let's call a spade a spade. So I just feel like in America, we've done a very poor job of non-biased hiring. Okay. So you go look at the board of any company in America, 90% of the members are males, 90% of the members are white, 90% of the members are old. Okay. They all made their money in the last 30 years, 40 years, and they're old as fuck, and they have a different ideological system than everybody else has, okay? But the answer isn't just to mandate, oh yeah, put fucking 7 Well, let me say this. The black people get all the noise, but the Hispanics are the ones that are always shorted. Okay. Because there's fucking three times as many Hispanics in America as there are black people, but black people just the noises. So they get all the fucking color. Okay. But if I was Hispanic, I'd be losing my fucking mind because there ain't no Hispanic people on no boards in America. So that's kind of my divulge into DEI. I think DEI is the dumbest shit in the world. You know, we got to address the fact that they throwing up Hi Hitler and all this other shit from what's his name, Elon Musk and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Someone asked me about that today. You know what I'm gonna tell them? I don't give a shit. Show me change in America. I don't care what they do. Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna bring fucking Nazism to America? Like, we ain't got to worry about that. America got no problem picking up guns and shooting people. So, like, let's just get some change. Get this shit out of here. Stop dividing America. Let's make America great again. That's my ending shot to America. Let's make it great.
Dude, I don't know how that Elon Musk, I guess, fucking clip is being taken out of proportion and just being made into something that it's not. Dude, It's Elon Musk, man. This dude loves America. Like, he's not fucking a Nazi. Everybody's blowing shit out of proportion. It's the internet allowing people to troll and do what they do best. But I just finished Elon Musk's fucking book. Awesome dude. ACD, I mean, he's ACD as shit, but it is what it is. John, what are your thoughts on DEI ending and MEI replacing it?
I think DEI was, like what Jake said, an absolute dumpster fire. I think that they're in the military, especially just in federal agencies, there has been an issue with the hiring process for a while. And guys getting in positions where they really don't deserve to, or they're not competent enough to. And I think the DEI program was a step in the complete opposite direction, making that even worse. So I don't understand why you would ever want a federal agency that is in charge of obviously important things, even in the DoD and things like that, to be filled with people that aren't qualified for the positions that they're in, and they're hired just based on where they come from instead of what they can actually do. So I think it was a huge mistake, and I'm glad that they're getting rid of it. I think it would have been atrocious had Kamala gotten in and we had another potential 4 years. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine another 4 years of that just spreading through the ranks? As we progress towards war, we're undermining our effectiveness as a nation to defend itself. So I think that would have been a very, very dangerous place to be. And I think now that we're getting rid of it, we're kind of taking those steps in the right direction, but we still have to, continue to clean up the promotion process in the military.
Yeah, I agree. Peaches, how many genders are there before you give your DEI question?
How do you define a woman? I don't know.
That was a question that fucking somebody, the fact that Donald Trump had to say that, like, in America, we recognize two genders and that's it. Just to me, it's like a fucking black eye to America that we as a country don't know that there's only two fucking genders. You know what I mean?
It's the Twilight Zone, dude. It's fucking wild, man.
What the fuck is going on? The last 10 years or so, we've become this. It just blows my mind. But yeah, Peaches, what are your thoughts on DEI going away and MEI fucking making its way?
I'm happy about it. I can't celebrate it enough. Which is why when I see, at least on the Air Force bases, because I follow the Air Force channels and that kind of stuff. So whenever I see that stuff is still being promoted, especially when it's on my own base, I'm calling it out and I'm letting everybody know so that they can call their congressmen, they can call their senators, they can call their public affairs on Nellis or any other base that it is and start going, you guys need to get your shit together. So you're on notice.
Yeah. All right, folks, let's hit the super chats real quick and then we'll cover some of these topics. There's so many executive orders that were signed that we'll try to run through.
Cool. You want me to rattle off the
yeah, if you don't mind. I don't have access to them. Yeah, if you don't mind.
I was trying to find them. I was trying to help you, Jay, and I don't understand my phone.
I got it. I
can't get them up either, Peaches. I'm over here like, oh,
can't make comms, you get comms. First one's from Mason Young. He said, "Hey, Peaches, can you go into what a dagger is a little bit for the audience?" So, 30 seconds, dagger. It actually stands for, and I had to look it up because I was like, man, I don't actually know the acronym. Deployed Aircraft Ground Response Element, and it's pronounced dagger. It is, you have to be security forces, an Air Force security forces person, and then you go get specialized training in weapons, small unit tactics, that kind of stuff. And they are a unit that I'm 99% sure is all underneath Air Force Special Operations Command. So that's how they utilize them. I've never, like in my 25 years in AFSOC and SOCOM, I've never worked with daggers. I've never been anywhere around them. So I can't, we've had them on the One's Ready podcast several times, you know, to help recruitment and that kind of stuff and get information out there. But like, I have never worked with them. So that's about all I know.
I thought he was talking about like the piece of equipment dagger. Like,
I don't think so.
No, I was just
PSN 11, PSN 11, and PSN 13.
Yeah, because there's a piece of equipment in the Army that I remember working with it was a dagger. I thought that's what he was talking about. But
you guys remember? I know you guys remember the PSN 11s, the pluggers.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you got the new PSN 13, which is the dagger, which still, when we have technology out there that, you know, can bring up stuff on our phones and everything, and we still got this big ass hunk of metal. Like, come on, man, we got to do better than that. The other one is TrackPhone Virtual Mag. I'm just hoping we don't get rid of the EO office, Equal Opportunity Office. That's got to be a troll or a joke or something like that, because that's essentially, I know that's
two different things. Yeah,
it is two different things, and like it's kind of like a SAPR, the Sexual Assault Prevention, or no. What is?
I don't know, but I got one on that one.
You got what? You got a SAPR on you? Okay.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like I think the people that were hired because of DEI, they're gonna be butthurt. But at the end of the day, I don't give a shit if it's an office full of fucking white dudes. If they're the best qualified for the job, then they're gonna fucking do it. I don't need one single fucking black dude in there just breathing up all the fucking good air because he's the right color. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm so glad you said it. Can you imagine if I said that? Can you imagine if I said that?
You okay, Peaches? I'm gonna drop a JDAM in here. So I want everybody to go look up my man Lasagna at Cal, head of DEI at Cal. Okay, I interviewed with this man probably 5 years ago. It was the biggest clown fuckery interview I've ever been in, because he tried to claim that my DEI background was not adequate to be at Cal. And he only has 11 diversified people in the whole fucking athletic department out of 300. And it's the least diversified school in the Cal system. Yet this dude told me he has a PhD in DEI. I had to inform him, listen, bud, that shit don't mean nothing because you're the worst performer in the history of fucking mankind. And I'd like everybody to know his name was Lasagna. So,
dude, you know, one of the biggest supporter of DEI was Mark Cuban. He was one of the biggest supporter of DEI. And you look at the Maverick, one of the whitest fucking NBA team ever. Yet he was one of the strongest supporter of DEI.
Let me go look at his board. Let me go look at the board.
Dude, that shit was so funny because I'm like, Mark Cuban, like, your team, the Mavericks, is probably the whitest team in the NBA in an all-black sport, and yet you're the one giving Trump and everybody a shit and supporting DEI when you don't follow that same fucking advice yourself. So yeah, I think that shit's funny as hell.
I live by a very simple thing that I heard from Jordan Peterson: is equal opportunity, not equal outcome.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
That is a true merit-based, because I mean, look, you got two white dudes on here and two black dudes on here who have all gone through merit-based.
I'm not black. I'm not fucking black. I gave up my black identity about 4 months ago, Peaches. I'm Jewish, and then I'm 66% Norwegian. Okay, just want to make that clear.
Oh man,
I'm sorry. Next thing you know, I'll misgender you.
Appreciate that one too, Peaches.
To Peach's point, we all got the chance to go to a selection process, right? And then the outcome is what you see here. Like everybody gets a chance to go try out and then perform merit based, right? If you crush it, you come out on the back end selected. If you don't, color your skin doesn't fucking matter, right? So yeah, I'm happy that that DEI shit is gone, man. Like I'm looking forward to what this country is going to look like with that shit out of there. Right, so we'll move into the next one, guys, and this one is interesting because the military is going to get involved, right? So President Trump signed an executive order designated the cartel as a terrorist organization, right? The classification opens the door for broader legal measures, including military involvement and financial sanctions to combat their influence in operation, right? So once he signed that order, the full might of the DoD is available to him to be able to target the cartel and essentially destroy them. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Right. As far as now, I know John lives in Arizona. Peaches, you're in Vegas. Jake, you're in fucking
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Like cartel is all around there. What are you guys' thoughts on this? We'll start with you, Peaches.
I think it's I'm excited for our boys, right? And I hate that I'm missing out on it. I think it's good. I think it's great. I think if we're not, I would rather our folks do this and protect our home than go fight ridiculous wars that we have no place being because some politicians think we need to be over there. Like this to me is a righteous mission, and I support it. And I'm all about it. Plus, our boys get to keep their skills super sharp.
Jake?
Okay, so it's funny because Jay dropped a video on this a couple days ago. I'm dropping a video on Jay's video. I'm piggybacking. So here's what I'm going to say, okay? I don't think the cartels are the problem, okay? I'm going to call a spade a spade. Our drug epidemic in the United States is 3 times higher than the next country on the list, okay? We lose 381 people a day to drug overdose in the United States. The next highest conglomeration of people is 83 a day. Okay. So I just want people to think about that. Like, do we have a cartel problem or do we have a drug problem in the United States? I think it's a drug problem. I mean, as far as going to hunt the cartel, I think we have a lot of dead bodies. Like, I think it's going to go both ways. I think we go down there and fuck around. We're going to find out. You know, if we try to land on the X, if Dev Group gets lazy and doesn't want to do a fucking proper infill and lands on the X, they're going to get fucking shot down. It's going to be dirty. But I really don't think, in all honesty, that any of that's going to happen because if you just saw, they turned over El Chapo's son, I think yesterday or this morning, and there's another dude that got turned in. So I think the cartel said, what would you like to not come down here and fuck us up? And we said, turn these 2 dudes in, and they turned them in. So I think there's a lot more geopolitical shit going on than just the boys going down there to stomp ass. Obviously, yeah, that sounds great, but I'm going to tell you this. If we go down there and start killing people, I guarantee you they come up here and start killing people. And when people start dying at Fort Bragg and fucking Fort Lewis in their cars getting fucking 50,000 bullets shot in them like fucking training day, I think the sentiment will change real quickly in the special forces.
Dude, we need to figure out how to fix Chicago first before we go try to fix this cartel problem. We can't even fix Chicago. So it's going to be interesting taking on Mexico and the cartel. John, yeah, exactly, right. John, you're over in Arizona. What are your thoughts on this executive order essentially classifying the cartel as a terrorist organization and using military actions against them?
I like it. I like that it opens the door for it. I'm interested to see what our role or what the soft role is inside of that. Is it going to be kind of assisted operations or partner operations, whatever? I don't foresee just U.S. forces going down and conducting unilateral raids and things like that. I think it's going to be by, with, and through, which I think will be good. But I think it's very needed. I think we have let the cartels get such a stranglehold on the economy and on like the drug trade here in the U.S. for years. Like growing up, I grew up in primarily in Washington, in a town on the east side of Washington in Kennewick. And there was a huge cartel presence. My brother actually ended up working with the cartel and ended up doing 5 years in prison because he was running guns for them. So it's not just on the border. It's going all the way up north. It's going all the way throughout the United States. They have supply chains, very robust supply chains all throughout. So I am down in Arizona. My parents live pretty close to the border. My stepdad's a former Green Beret, so he's always, poking around down there and doing stuff. And I went down there a couple weeks ago, and we were just on a hunting trip, and I opened up the back of my stepdad's truck, and he had a bunch of Narcan in there. And I was like, why do you have so much Narcan? Like boxes of it. And he's like, oh, you have to be really careful down here. There's like, duffel bags that you'll find, and they just are tattered with fentanyl. So it's not just like, I don't know what people think that is going on when people think about the border, but down here in Arizona, the border is wide open. Cartels are managing it. They're managing their supply chains and making sure that money and drugs are passing over the border freely. And it's not going to stop until we, kind of put that foot down. And I think designating them as terrorist organizations is a great step in the positive direction so that we can utilize the DoD to combat it.
Yeah, and again, it's a problem for sure. But to John's point, I think it's going to have to be by, with, and through, right? Because I was speaking with a DEA agent today about the same topic, and I asked him what he thought, and he was like, "Hey, whatever we decide to do, we got to keep in mind that Mexico is still a sovereign nation, right? Like it's not like Iraq and Afghanistan where we just invaded and fuck up a bunch of shit. Like Mexico is still its own country with its own president, with its own laws. And we got to work with their police, with their military to, I guess, take care of this issue together." But then I read an article after speaking with them that says, hey, the cartel is Mexico's 5th largest employer, recruiting anywhere from 325 people a day to help them smuggle into the United States. And I'm like, you telling me that you're running that big of an operation and the Mexican government doesn't know about it? Hell, they're fucking American. Yeah, I know.
Hey, they're on the take or they're dead. Like that's the two options they got. You either take the money or we're going to kill you.
And on top of that, you mean to tell me that the United States, some of the U.S. politicians aren't in on it? And then the DEA agent said something pretty fucking remarkable. He was like, Jay, check it out. You go to Mexico and you go to some of these vacation spots that are nice while the rest of Mexico is a fucking shithole. Never been. These are his words. You go to Mexico City and all these resorts that are dirt cheap to us Americans to go visit. He goes, where do you think the money to build all that stuff comes from? It's like, it's all cartel money. That's how they clean their money. That's how they wash it. It's by building all these resorts and allowing people to come down there and fucking have vacations and pay for all this shit. And he's like, the only way we're actually going to fight this issue is by targeting the Mexican government, right? Helping them unfuck their government, following the money. And to Jake's point, getting Americans to not love drugs with this, which is a fucking task within itself. Dude, that's a task within itself.
So let me say this, Jay. Let me add a little bit of light from a dude that ran in those circles in the late 90s or in the late 80s. Okay. So in the late 80s, the Bloods, the Crips, the Disciples, and then the whole crew of New York dudes ran the drug game. Okay. Obviously, the Cubans ran the drug game down in Miami. As the 90s progressed, like MS-13, all the Hispanic gangs started taking over. Okay. And to the point where we're at now, where I had a couple of my friends were in the business and they got out mid-90s because they said, listen, man, these motherfuckers from Mexico are killing everybody. They don't care. Okay. You either work for them or they kill you. All right. But think about this. I want everybody to think about this. We had the big ass, gang episodes, gang violence from the 80s through mid-90s, late 90s. To now there ain't no gangs in the United States. I mean, obviously we know there's some gangs, but MS-13 and a couple other gangs, all from south of the border, are running the whole drug trade now. There are no independent dealers. There's nobody working the drug trade that doesn't work for the cartel in America. They took over the whole business. And that's why you're not seeing. When's the last time you seen the article on the Bloods and the Crips? Right? The GDs. When's the last time you ain't seen no articles on no gangs, because they don't exist anymore. They might be a gang, but they working for the cartel, and the cartel controls all of the violence. So just keep that in mind as the Americans sit out there with their rose-colored glasses on, trying to figure out what's going on. The cartel been here entrenched for 25, well, shit, at this point, 30 years. Like, to think that you're just going to go down there and kill a couple people and solve the problem with some special forces dudes. I mean, like I said before, until you fix the fucking nose problem, you ain't fixing none of this shit.
Yeah, because if you think of it, man, like we got rid of Pablo Escobar, right? We got rid of him. We caught El Chapo. Dude, nothing's changed. All right. To me, it's a bigger problem here in the US. It's a supply and demand issue. If there's a demand for it, we can get rid of cartel. Hell, somebody from fucking Europe is just gonna supply it then.
Seventh group, Jay. Seventh group. Tell me if I'm wrong. We go down there and kill everybody. The guys doing the killing, seventh group are going to step out. Look at Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan started moving weight, right?
You're right.
Fuck. The dudes doing the killing are the closest to the action. They're like, hey, man, we'll get you in.
Dude, but again, like, if you get rid of cartel, somebody else will step in there and fill the gap. It has to be, how do we teach our kids to not want to fucking do blow once they go off to college? That's what it's going to come down to. So we'll see how that turns out. But all right, guys, we'll hit resiliency real quick, right? And John, I'm looking to you specifically for this one. When it comes to resiliency, like, how do you find your ways to get out of tough situation? Like, it's up to you if you want to share what you went through when you were over at the 18 Charlie Committee. But if you don't, that's fine. But just tell us in the audience how you were able to get over that specific incident and how you built resiliency from that.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think resiliency is just built by overcoming challenges. You start with whatever challenges lie in front of you, and you kind of get that positive feedback loop when you can, endure and actually get to the other side of it. You do that enough times, and it doesn't matter how big the challenge is anymore. I think, it depends on the individual. I think in some individuals raised around it or having challenges early on, that resiliency is developed quickly. I think in my case, I didn't have like a terrible childhood or anything like that, but I did grow up in a rough place. Talking about drugs and cartel and stuff. Where I grew up, it was MS-13 on one side of the river and Norteños on the other side of the river. So my brother was a Norteño. So I was involved in a lot of that stuff, kind of a lot of the drama, a lot of the hardship with it. So early on, I think facing those challenges gave me a lot of that resiliency. Obviously, that applied to going to the military. I didn't really have trouble pushing through a lot of things in the military until I got to HME. For those that don't know, there was an incident out at the 18 Charlie course. This is 2017, September 14th. And there was there was a detonation of some explosives, caused a mass casualty situation, and one of our guys lost his lives. So to me, like, I didn't, I joined special forces. I had seen what Jay and you guys have been doing on the ground in Afghanistan and Iraq prior to getting to that point. It was something that I expected. But I didn't expect it in training, and that's what kind of messed me up. And that was kind of like one of the biggest tests that I had throughout my career. And I think kind of everything that led up to it, I've had kind of different circumstances throughout my life, and I always ended up pushing through them. And I knew that if you just keep your head down and, keep putting one step in front of the other, that it usually turns out pretty damn well. So a good friend of mine basically told me to do exactly that. I did exactly that, and it turned out exactly, turned out pretty well. So I think for anybody that wants to build resilience and maybe they think that they don't, I was actually talking to a guy, 19-year-old kid this morning about it. It's nothing special. You don't have to go in there and try to, demonstrate or overcompensate by showing the world that you're some kind of masculine man or whatever. You don't have to do that. You just be yourself, and you never quit in the face of a challenge. And as you continue to do that and the challenges get bigger and bigger, your resiliency and your ability to adapt and overcome it grows with it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that, John. And I remember that day, man, because to me, like leading up to that incident, like I've never lost like a soldier like in the States. Like, because to your point, like we go down range and we expect all that to happen. But to see it happen, in the course, like it was like, holy fuck, like, yeah, down range for sure, but happening here, not at all. And the fucked up thing is, like, I literally had just taken over. I was like a day into my like committee chief time, right? So I'm still trying to get my feet under me, doing like paperwork and trying to figure out how to run a committee. And it was like, bam. And I remember, for us as instructors, we knew you guys as students were going through it, and we did the best that we could. But as instructors, I can tell you right now, that shit destroyed a lot of the guys because, especially like, I'm not gonna name them, but some of the guys that were there with you, because they were like, "Holy fuck! Like this isn't supposed to happen here, right?" So those guys had to dig deep and build some resiliency within themselves and overcome that specific incident. Because guess what? 2 weeks later, we picked up more students, right? And we had to get right back on the horse and then continue training and do it all of that, right? So they had to figure it out also. So I think everybody learned a lot about themselves that day. And I hope those guys are doing well, because I remember we had some badass dudes, man, like some fucking dudes that were getting after it. And after that incident, like some of those guys were never the same. Some of them even ended up quitting the course. Not sure what they're up to now, but to see how something like that can change a person blew my mind, right? Because yeah, I didn't expect it in the course, but I've seen death before.
Right.
But for you guys, this was your first experience to it. And I think some of the gun ho dudes that were crushing the course, once that took place, a lot of them just kind of like the motivation just left their bodies and they didn't want to do it anymore. Right. Peaches, what are your thoughts when it comes to resiliency and dealing with difficult situations?
Well, man, I always struggle with this and trying to articulate it, because what does it actually mean to be resilient? What does resilience really mean? Is it an overused word? All that kind of stuff. And man, I had the perspective I have, and I think it really does have a lot to do with perspective, is, man, whenever I'm around somebody who's kind of freaking out or not handling something, try and you should always tell them to just chill out and relax. That is one thing that you should definitely do. Joking.
Oh yeah.
I've learned not to do that, even though I still guilty of it. But man, I take a look and I try to assess my surroundings. I go, listen, man, I'm not underwater, so I can breathe. I'm not getting shot at. Like, all right, things aren't that bad. Everybody's healthy around me for the most part. Like, all right, cool. Let's get to it. Is that resilient? I don't know, man. Like I said, I struggle with this. It's, because and I'm sure all three of you guys have dealt with this. Whenever you're home station, like you get a phone call in the middle of the night with one of your boys on the other end of that phone that's bawling his eyes out, and he's more than likely he's drunk too. But he's like, dude, if you don't get over here in the next 10 minutes, it's fucking over. And it's like, dude, I'm on the way. You know what I mean? And that's tough to deal with. And, all three of you guys are nodding your heads. So you have definitely gotten those phone calls multiple times, and it's weird. And how do you, one, as the dude that's receiving the phone call, how do you deal with, like, afterwards, how do you deal with that? And then two is, how do you impart a certain amount of resilience on that teammate that you just had to do that too? It's tough, and I don't know the answer to it. Like, I wish I did, because I think if we did have the answer to it, the problem that we have going on would be a lot different. So that's a non-answer, Jay, but just so you guys know, I gotta go, because I gotta go wine and dine my wife. But there is one super chat that and it's not a question, it's a statement. It says there were like 30 assassinations this election cycle in Mexico. I think it's safe to say who's running the show down there.
Absolutely. Hey, we appreciate you jumping on, Peaches. You guys
Thanks for
enjoy
having
this.
me. It's always a pleasure, guys.
Absolutely. Have fun.
Light up.
Jake?
So I'm going to say this to Peach's comment. There's a lot of guys out there getting crushed, and it's TBI and CTE. Reach out. I got a free PDF on brain health, brain repair. I tell everybody, if I send it to you, I want you to send it to 10 people. Okay. It's a bunch of over the counter. It's all the functional medicine stuff that I learned at the Cleveland Clinic when I went up there on the Green Beret protocol. So get it. All right. Here's my deal on resiliency. Okay. You get resilient and more resilient by doing hard things. You get softer by not doing hard things. So I know a lot of people have asked me over on my channel, you know, I tell all the young kids coming out of high school, go work construction for 2 years. Okay. The graduation rate is at SEALs and Green Beret selection is exact same. It's roughly 5 kids the whole year come straight out of high school and manage to pass the selection course. So 5 kids graduate from SEAL training a year. 5 kids get their Green Berets a year that were direct admits from high school. So there's no reason to even try straight out of high school. There's none. There's zero reason. Go work construction for 2 years. Know what that cold is. If you're in Arizona, work on a roofing crew, right? Know what that summer heat is for 2 summers. And then you will have built up an internal resiliency that when you get to the Q course or you get to buds, you won't fold because it's cold, wet, and sandy, or the exact opposite. It's hot, wet, and sandy. So having come out of a household where we didn't have a lot of money and everything got fixed with my hands, right? Between me and my dad, we fixed everything or we built everything. Like, I understand. I try to give my kids chores. I'm doing a terrible job as a dad, but I just saw some trees that we will be going to cut down tomorrow morning. Like, I'm going to tell them, like, go cut all them fucking trees down. I don't give a shit about the trees. I care that they got to fucking pull on the saw for fucking 2 hours to cut them all down. So,
absolutely.
You know, like, I'm trying to build resiliency. We talked about this last time about how kids now are having massive anxiety about just using the telephone. Like, my kids are going to win in America because they're going to be able to talk to people and they're going to have some resiliency. Like, we go to wrestling practice 2 times a week. We've been going to wrestling for 3 fucking years. We haven't wrestled a single wrestling match. The wrestling match ain't important to me. Going to practice Tuesday and Thursday is. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. John, you think your wife is going to let you put that baby in the water after 6 weeks? I was thinking about that. I was like, dude, my wife would fucking never let me put a 6-week-old baby in the pool. I was like, Peaches is crazy. That shit'll never happen.
No.
Yeah,
if it
he right though. He right. I'm gonna back Peaches up. He's right 100%.
Oh, he's right. That doesn't mean my wife is gonna allow me to do that shit.
I don't think she would allow me to do it, but someone that does it on a daily basis, yeah, for sure. She's very when we were talking about the vaccines and everything like that, like, she is in it. Like, she is, you know, very in tune with all this stuff, tracking it, researching it, and has a pretty good head about it. I actually told her I was coming on this podcast. She's been listening to it the last couple of weeks, and she's like, I should go on that. She's like, I know more about it than you do. I'm like, you probably do. You just read all this stuff all day.
Hey, we need a female to come on here. Sign her up for next week, bro. We'll have her.
There you go.
We'll
I get in conspiracy arguments with her nightly.
All right. So how much do you guys trust the government? It's not a trick question. I just want to answer. Not at all. Okay.
Not at all.
Perfect. All right. So Trump stated that he's going to declassify the JFK and MLK assassination files. Right? President Trump signed an executive order to fully declassify all government records relating to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The stated goal is to provide transparency and address decades of speculation about potential conspiracy involving the government agencies. Now, do you guys think we're still going to have an FBI and a CIA after this comes out?
Yeah, but damn. Man,
Dude, it's an interesting one because I'm like, we already know, like, some of the information is already made public as far as who's behind some of this stuff, but I don't know what more those files can show that we don't already know, right? So I think it's going to be interesting. Whatever does come out, I think it's 35 to 45 days is the timeline that he's putting on it. What are your thoughts, John? Like, what do you think is going to come from all of this?
Yeah, I think there's going to be, I don't know that anything drastic will happen, just because it's the government. And I hate to say it, but a lot of times things like this come up. It's like hyped up. Everyone kind of knows about it, breaks the ice, and then it kind of fizzles out. We move on to something else. So ideally something gets fixed. It's all going to be behind closed doors. I don't think we'll really know what happens inside the government or inside the CIA or FBI from this, but hopefully it leads to a little bit more transparency with things like this. I think, like you said, we already know, everybody knows that our government was behind the assassination. Both, right? Everybody knows this stuff, but I think it's going to be a little bit of shock for a lot of people that still have a sliver of trust for the government, um, when they find out the actual players in it. Like, was it Lyndon Johnson that ordered it? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, when there's names tied to it and kind of a timeline and conversations revealed, that's when it's like, oh shit, this is real. This is something that the government actually does. So I don't know that anything will drastically change within the departments, at least outward facing. But I think it's a good step in the right direction with painting the picture and educating people on what a government actually is, and why we can't give the government, you know, unlimited power to control the lives of its civilians and population.
Jake?
Once again, I don't think Trump has the balls to close the FBI and the CIA. So I'm going to say it that way. I think both organizations, like if we worried about the United States more than we worried about the rest of the world, we wouldn't need either one of those organizations. Every state has its own FBI. Every state, right? Are there big corporations that span the whole state? Yeah. Do you need the FBI to go get them? No, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of things that, and this is that overreach of power that the United States has been on for 40 years, right? Department of Education didn't exist until the 70s. So why do we have it? We did pretty fucking good for 100 years without it. Like, what's its purpose, right? Like, so I think it goes back to all of that stuff, the gradual increase of federal government and the gradual loss of liberties by Americans. So,
yeah, I don't think he's. I know it's a campaign promise, so he has to speak about it and he has to say he's going to do something about it. But I personally don't think he ends up going through with it because there's just, I don't know, certain things are better left unknown. And I think this is one of those. And I think that if he keeps fucking with the CIA and the FBI, he's gonna end up like one of those, like one of those two guys that we're discussing. So I think it's one of those things. He's saying it because he has to, but I don't think he's gonna end up doing anything about it. As good as it will be for us as citizens to trust the government more by him doing that, I don't think he's actually gonna go through with it, in my opinion.
And Jay, let me add this. If you guys really want to go do some real reading, go get the Elite Serial Killers of the United States and read that book. And then when you read the book, you got Google, you can check every fact in that book and it will open your eyes immensely to the deep state. They call it the deep state. I call it the Rothschilds and the Goldsteins. That's who's running the world right now. It's people with the money. Okay. But you can read it in the book. It's in the book. I tell everybody, go read the book. You want to know who killed JFK? Go read the book. It tells you right in the book. You go Google it. You're like, holy shit. Okay. Why is a Kennedy died every generation?
Because well, we're about to find out once they release the fucking files.
No. Yeah, well, he got killed. The original JFK got killed because he stopped the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
They wanted World War III to happen, and he said he wasn't going to let it. He stopped it, so they killed him. And then they said for 100 years, we're going to kill somebody in every generation.
Sure
So
enough.
JFK Jr. died. They drowned
Ro-
one of the grandkids in a swimming pool. Like
Robert Kennedy. Yeah.
just Google it. So anyway, I just want to throw the facts in. I know there's some conspiracies around here, but we don't deal in those. Just go get the book, read the book, and hit Google.
What was the
Your
book
mouth
called
will
again?
hit the ground. Elite Serial Killers of the United States. It has like JFK, Malcolm X, and MLK on the cover in a crosshair. It's got a white cover. But we read that book back in 03, and I was like, God damn. So
Now, is it one of those books you read and it gets you fired up, and next thing you know, you're against your government? Because I
no,
don't want to
not
read that
really.
type of book.
It reads like an encyclopedia. Like it's like, all right, here's what happened in the JFK assassination. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, go look at this, this, and this. And the thing is, you just Google it, right? You Google it, you're like, holy shit. There's like a Rothschild or Goldstein on every board in the world. Every world bank. Pull it up. You pull it up. There's like fucking 3 Rothschilds and 2 Goldsteins on every bank in the world. You're like, God damn. It says, you can track the people. Like it has the whole Rothschild thing. You can track them. You can say, hey, here they are. Okay, boom, 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 boom. You can go like JFK. It'll say JFK. There was 3 snipers, right? You go Google it, and okay, there's a dude on a grassy knoll, right? Like, and you just go around. You're like, shit, okay. Like that was the thing that got me, even in 03, with the limited resources of the internet. Like you were able to just go and look at the shit. You're like, God damn, why'd they kill Malcolm X and MLK? Because both of those dudes were fucking moving the masses and they couldn't control them. And they felt like they didn't want a race riot at that time. So they're like, oh, let's get rid of both of them. So,
yeah. And that's why I think, even though I'm very excited for President Trump and what he's been doing, I still got to, manage my expectation, understand that he's still running the United States government, but then there's also a deep state behind the government. There's also power behind the actual facade, to where even if he wanted to do all this thing like drain the swamp, it's it's not fucking possible, because money is what makes the world go around, and the people that have money, they can wait them out and let them do things that are gonna make us as citizens happy. You know what I mean? Because it is what it is, right? Like we're all excited about the little stuff, and then the big ticket items. Those things are never gonna fucking change, right? Because at the end of the day, like that's what that big money's there for, is to ensure fucking continuity, to ensure that wars are still going on and all this crazy shit. But I'm here for it though. I think it's still gonna be an exciting 4 years. So we'll see what happens. So in this next one, guys, this one's interesting because so while President Trump was going through his inauguration speech, all right, President Biden pardoned General Milley. And it blows my mind because I'm like, dude, you're a general in the United States government. Like, why do you need to be pardoned if you weren't doing anything fucking crazy? Right. So I say all this to say, how do you view the pardon of General Milley in the context of military accountability? Right. Should senior leaders be held to a higher standard, or should they be pardoned like General Milley did? Like, if guys are fucking up, should they be held accountable, or should presidents be able to do this? John, what are your thoughts?
100% be held accountable. Yeah, absolutely. And it's very, I guess, kind of near and dear to all of our hearts, especially like the way Afghanistan ended and things like that. Like nobody was held responsible for that. Like that is insane. COVID, like everything that has taken place, it's just absolutely insane that nobody has been held accountable. Not a single individual was, fired, whatever, from that outcome. So I think that is a very dangerous precedent to set inside the government. Just because you have a job and you are a leader of an organization, I get it that you give orders and you're reliant on subordinates down the chain to go out and carry out those orders. Was he the one that directly did this and that? Like, who knows? But he did some shady shit, and I think for that he should be held accountable. And just looking at that entire, I didn't look at the entire, pardon list, but looking at the big names on that pardon list, it's crazy to me that that is acceptable. in, our society. Like there's so many people on that if they're not prosecuted and spend time in jail or whatever, that should at least go in front of the public and make statements and try to defend their case and have a prosecution. So I definitely think that they should have been held accountable.
Jake?
Yeah, I just think it's a bunch of fucking puppets and clowns. So, like, they pardon who they want to pardon. They pardon General Milley, fucking great. Like, Trump already said, you better fucking resign or I'm firing you all. I believe he fired the head admiral of the Coast Guard on her bullshit. So he already fired her like day 2. I just think it comes back to, like, Trump's already said he's going to de-weaponize the judicial system, right? So, like, he's coming for all those clowns. As far as being held accountable, I think the generals are complete pawns. So General Milley got pardoned because, loser Biden asked him to do something and he did it, right? Did he do it to the best of his ability? No. Is he a clown also? Yes, right? So, like, it's a bunch of fucking clowns and puppets. Like, that's what happens. Like, Biden, I mean, Trump's in trouble. Didn't Trump pardon some people, like the fucking
Yep.
the
J6,
rioters and all that
yeah.
shit? Like,
Yeah.
listen, man, like, unless you out there fucking pardoning goddamn death row inmates that have 50 bodies and they walk out the cell and they kill somebody the next day on the street, I don't really give a shit.
Now, Jake, do you think, as far as generals go, like, do you think we'll ever be able to depoliticize like the general ranks? You think that's ever going to happen? Because back then, like, generals were actual fucking generals, right?
Now, no, they weren't. Yeah. No, they weren't. Go to World War II. What happened in World War II, Jay? Who won World War II for America? What general won World War II for America?
Patton.
You know why Patton fucking won? Because they had to keep fucking firing all the shitty ass generals. Mm-hmm. And they really wanted to fire Patton, but that motherfucker was a breaking case of war motherfucker behind the glass panel.
Yeah.
And they unleashed him, and then he fucking laid waste and slapped the shit out of people. And you know what I'm saying? But, like, that's the part of it, right? Like, the guys that can win wars are not the guys that get promoted to general, because the generals they have to be politicians at that point, right? Like, the whole idea of becoming a general is a political move. Like, you're not going to become a general unless you have the endorsement of the political parties. Like, they won't vote you in. So, like, it's already a political move, right? Like, it's not a military move. I know one fucking admiral who was a fucking savage that made admiral, right? I mean, like, one admiral that was a savage, and he made 2 stars, and then they told his ass to get the fuck out, right? Like, but I think the whole military construct is that it is political. Once you get past 05, it's all politics, bro. Like, you can make 05 and just be a bad motherfucker, but after 05, you ain't making 06 if you ain't got no politics.
That's very true.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Either way, General Milley I bet you, he's gonna leave the government and he's gonna go find him a fucking board seat somewhere, and it's gonna be business as usual.
He probably already has a board seat.
Hey.
Do you think there should be a restriction to where once you're done serving as a general, you have to wait a period of time before going to a board?
So I don't think you can. So here's the thing that I've learned now that I have a couple generals and an admiral. You're not doing anything to them any way you want to, because it's the relationships that are moving the money. So the relationships are moving the money, right? He's going to call his boy over an acquisition and say, hey, man, yeah, General Dynamics is a plan. Yeah, I got you, Joe. I'll take care of it. Or they're going to be like, hey, they're going to meet in the woods and say, hey, Joe, the fucking General Dynamics bid is $1.2 billion. Okay, got you. They come in at 1.1, and they're good. Like, that's the thing that my guys are saying. Like the relationships is what matters, because they've been in the military for 25 plus years. And it's the relationships that are moving the money, not necessarily the title.
So they're going to facilitate from, if they're on the sidelines or not.
Yeah, and they'll get their money at the end, right? Like, if you put a 3-year no-show clause on it, for 3 years, they're hustling their ass off, and they get, I don't know, just call it $500 billion in government contracts for a General Dynamic or a Boeing, or even bigger than that, right? Like a couple ships, and next thing you know, 3 years later, they're on the board. Next thing you know, they get a you know, a $4 million bonus or a $10 million bonus. Like we live in a corrupt, money driven society. So like, pay me now or pay me later, I'm still gonna get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good perspective.
Unfortunately, all that shit's accurate, man. If you look at like the uniforms that we wear, the some of the gears, like the Harris radios and some of the guns, like all that shit facilitated by generals who are on the boards, who's getting a cut of everything that comes in and that goes out.
Has
Right?
anybody ever wondered why the fuck we get new uniforms? Right?
Because it's why some of the shit we got, dude. BDUs, I still want the
Wait.
BDUs and
Wait.
to
All
shit.
we have to
I still
do-
want those to come back.
All we have to do is go out and buy real tree camo. Okay. It is the best camouflage in the fucking world. And we would never change our uniforms. But I believe the change uniform process is almost $50 billion across all of the service. It's some god awful number. Dude, they spent like $500 million researching digital cami. Right? Like I could tell you, like, the hunters don't wear digital cami. So I'll save you 500 million. Why don't we just buy Realtree? Right. And then the argument for Realtree was that's a commercial product. We can't have it in the military. I'm like, okay, well then turn in all the fucking guns and the airplanes and all the other commercial fucking products we have. But yeah, I asked that question when I was in the SEAL teams, and the response I got was fucking flabbergasting. And now having seen us go from fucking, like, why does the Navy have digital fucking blue and gray camis? Like, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's fucking awesome, right? Like,
dude, it's
fucking
like
stupid.
clockwork, man. Like every 10 to 15 years, we change uniforms.
Yep.
Like the Army brought back the old World War II style dress uniforms. And I'm like, why the fuck do we need those? Like I was good with my greens that I came in with back in 2003. You know, that shit was sharp. The greens, BDUs, DCUs, that like those work just perfectly.
Turn them into Dodge, man. I need Dodge to get that sword out and get after them, man.
Oh man. Well, I appreciate you fellas, man. John, if you had any advice for anybody out there looking to go to selection, what would that be? I would say top 3 advice.
Yeah, first, one step at a time. The biggest thing that gets guys, especially when you're in selection or you have a bad day or whatever, is start overthinking and self-selecting and talking yourself out of doing all the work that lies ahead of you because you had one shitty day. One step at a time, control what you can. As you're approaching the selection, just freaking focus on training smart. You don't have to go out there and try to run 50 miles every day, but have a plan that's a progression towards those numbers. Follow the progression, be disciplined with it, take care of your nutrition and recovery, then go out and execute.
Perfect. All right, so we're gonna end with a segment that I'm gonna start trying out. It's called Leadership Hot Seat. All right, that's when I ask you a couple of questions about fucked up situation that we as leaders might find ourselves in. Some of it is shit that I found myself in while I was a team sergeant and I had to navigate. I'm always curious as to what you guys' feedback might be, right? So we'll start with you, John. I know Jake's got crazy answers for these, but we'll start with you, John, and then we'll see what Jake has to say. All right, first question for you. You go do a barracks inspection or a car inspection and you find drugs in your subordinate's car, in your soldier's car. What do you do? And he's one of your top performers, senior Bravo, fucking, I don't know what you guys call him in the SEAL teams, Jake, but like some of your like top performer, somebody that you're close with, somebody that you've coached, teach, and mentor, but you find some fucking Colombian white in his fucking car. Like, what do you do?
Colombian white, huh? Is it a lot or just like one little bag?
Let's say a kilo. Look like he might be running an entire fucking ring.
Yeah, if it's a kilo, it's a different story. If it's like a small amount, I usually try to keep things in house, keep them chill, and I would talk to him, freaking take the shit away, and get him straight, and ideally get him to a place where he can clean himself up and continue to serve and have an honorable career. But if he's running drugs, making freaking hundreds of thousands of dollars, pulling them up from down south because he's in 7th group or something, it depends on the situation, man. If it's something where I'm going to be, involved in it now, and if he gets caught, I'm, a part of it, and I can potentially go to jail and not see my family for the next 15 years, then I would handle it in a way that avoids that. But if it's you know, it just depends on the situation. I think, like I said, if it's just a small amount and it's like a one-off type of case, ideally we handle it, squash it. I continue to monitor him, provide accountability. If he keeps fucking up, then you maybe see what is it, like the drug counseling people in the army. I forget what it's called, ASAP. Or something like
ASAP,
that. Yeah, yeah,
ASAP.
yeah. But if he's running drugs and now I'm you know, part of his operation and could potentially go to jail for it for years, then it's a different story. So exactly how I would handle it, I don't really know, because it would depend on the individual, would depend on where we're at. But I would probably, in that case where it's worth a bunch, you know, put it up to the appropriate chain, and at least my team start and push it from there.
Jake.
So I'm going to tell a story. When I was in college football, I had to go pick a recruit up about 5 hours away. And it was pretty interesting. Like, we were driving back, and, you know, I'm a cool dude. Like, I don't really give a fuck about too much shit. My man, you know, was in Beaumont, Texas. Beaumont, in the heart of the hood. Like, right at the end of his street, there was tires that were fucking like a made barricade out of tires. It was some poor shit, right? Like, it was the hood. And he got in the car, and we were about probably an hour on the other side of Houston. So we were about an hour, 2.5 hours into the drive. This motherfucker pulled out a baggie of blunts. I'm talking about like a quart bag with probably, let's say 50 to 100 blunts in it. Okay. And I say, hey, homeboy, what you doing? He said, man, I'm about to make some money on this trip. And so I'm driving, right? I'm the football coach. I'm like, the fuck you talking about? You about to make some money. Okay. So I pulled the car over and I said, you got two choices. You can go fucking hide that bag right there, over there behind that fence post. Okay. We on the freeway. We on 10 headed west. You can go hide this bag over there on that fence post, or like, I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna take you back home, right? And he was like, all right, cool. So he took the bag up there, and I'm gonna kick myself. I'm gonna say that right now because I was not doing my job. Okay, I'm gonna kick myself, and then I'm gonna finish the story. Okay, so he gets back in the car. I'm like, all right, cool, you good? Yeah, you got any more blunts on you? He said, I kept one to smoke later. I said, all right, fuck it, you kept one to smoke, whatever. We ride. Okay, so this kid was the honey badger. All right, this motherfucker had big time offers, but he had been in trouble. Thus, the reason we had a chance to get him at Incarnate Word. Okay, I'm talking about a Division I game changer. We're gonna get him. At the time we were Division II, we're going up to Division I AA. So, like, this would be a huge get for us. Okay, so fast forward, that's Friday morning. I get him to school, hook him up with my two good kids. Everything's going gravy. Okay, my phone rings at 2 a.m. Hey, man, we got a problem, Jake. What's going on? Your boy's in the back of the police car. Okay, go give the phone to the police officer. Boom. Hey, Mr. Officer, I'll be there in 25 minutes. I'm the football coach, former United States Navy SEAL, Naval Academy grad. I'll be there in 25 minutes. He said, we'll be waiting on you. Okay. So I show up, and me and the police, the kids in the back in handcuffs in the back of the police car. I'm like, okay. So we walk around the other side. There's like 3 police cars out there at this point. Walk around the other side of the police car. This motherfucker pulls out the same baggie with all the blunts in it. Now, here's the good part. There was only like 5 blunts left. So this motherfucker had been selling blunts at this point for probably about 7 or 8 hours and was pretty much out, right? And I said, Mr. Officer, what do you want to do? He said, listen, man, I didn't think this kid was legit. He said, I pulled up his fucking film. This is a bad motherfucker sitting in the back of the car. I said, yes, it is. And he said, if we arrest him right now, he's going to lose his scholarship. And I said, to be honest with you, he's already lost his scholarship with us. I said, but he's probably going to lose everything if he goes to jail because he already got in trouble for this once. That's why we're able to recruit him. He said, listen, I don't want to ruin his life. I said, okay. He said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to take him home with me. He's going to sleep in a bed in my guest room. Tomorrow morning in 3 fucking hours, I'm going to have a graduate assistant drive his ass back to Beaumont. And that's going to be what it is. He'll be out of this town, no troubles. He said, okay, I like that idea. So, you know, I took the kid, fucking drove him back to the crib. He slept in my guest room for about 3 hours. On the way home, I called a graduate assistant. I told him be at my house at fucking 6 a.m. 6 a.m. He fucking picked him up. They drove 5.5 hours back to Beaumont. My GA was mad as fuck because he had to drive 11 hours that day. But like, that's how I handled it. Right now, lessons learned. Okay. After that, if I saw some fucking shenanigans, and I'm going to say this, I'm not a righteous dude that doesn't allow any shenanigans. But if you get in a car and you got 50 blunts rolled up in a bag, you fixing to sell on a recruiting visit, I should have turned the car around right there. That's why I say I kicked myself, right? Like I should have just wheeled the car around, be like, look, you ain't got your priorities in order. Okay. So that's how I handled it when I found a large amount of drugs on a young man and he was mine. So
He was the honey badger.
no, he wasn't the honey badger.
Oh,
He was
okay.
fucking.
I was like,
listen,
You're similar to him.
No. Same exact place, bro. Same place.
Wow.
Same skill set. Like he had all. The year before, he had LSU. He had all the big schools. He's just tiny and fast as shit. And then he had got in trouble. He had gotten kicked out of school. He lost all the major offers. He had lost every offer, to be honest with you. So I was recruiting him, and we had this little Hispanic kid who was the same 3-star kid out of North Shore who had got in trouble for having sex in a stairwell. He lost all his offers. Those were my two like kind of rebellious kids that my head coach was okay if we sign. Obviously, they'll be in my stead, so I would keep them under wraps. But we didn't take either one of them. The Hispanic kid refused to come on a visit because he said he was better than that. His ass ended up in jail like 6 months later. So.
All right, here's another one for you guys. And again, all these questions are based on experiences that I've seen come to fruition. And I'll let you guys know how this one ends because it's pretty interesting. But as a leader, what would you do if you found out one of your guys was sleeping with a teammate's wife in that same company? Right?
Yeah, that's a
Jake.
no-go.
Jake. Hey, these are real questions from real scenarios, Jake.
I might have to discipline myself and shit. No. So here's the deal, man. I try not to get in those weeds, okay?
Mm-hmm. Well, as a leader, you don't have a choice because once you find out.
No. Because this is what I do. I do the same shit all the time. Hey, Joe, you better go have a conversation with Keith, okay? Now, you got 24 hours, all right? So you go have the conversation, or I'm going to have the conversation, right? But here's what I'm going to say. This shit is so rampant in the SEAL teams, you're better off just not hearing it, okay? Like, our teams, like I will say this, after having been on here long enough with you guys, your teams stay together for years.
Mm-hmm.
Our teams don't stay together, but maybe 2 deployments. There's probably never a 3-deployment platoon that has, let's even say 50% of the same people. Like basically you're getting 50% every time. So after 2 deployments, like you're going to get new people. It's going to change out. Right. And I think that's mainly because our leadership starts at E6. So all the E5s make E6s and then they're not in the platoon anymore, where you guys have a couple E7s in your A teams. So anyway, my point is, I don't think there's an easy answer on that. Obviously, I'm not Mr. Righteous, but I'll tell you in the SEAL teams, if you try to like live to some standard, you might not have anybody in your fucking platoon because they're all fucking savaging whatever they can savage. So it's not that easy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you find someone doing that, they're immediately at least off the team, like sent down to the basement, never touching a team again. Ideally, I don't think that's acceptable at all. At least for me on my team, my boys like would never like not. I trust them 100%. I actually saw, I think Jay, you did a video on it a while back, but if I was deployed or I was TDY or some of the guys are TDY and they need help, like the dudes on the team go over and help out. Like it's not an issue. No freaking funny business or any drama like that. Like you just take care of it because that's what team members do. So I would have a pretty zero tolerance policy on that. I like your approach of giving him 24 hours to hash it out man to man. But knowing the dudes on the teams, that's probably going to get pretty violent pretty quick. So I would make
And
sure
that's exactly what happened over a third group, man. This guy was a SF guy. A support kid was banging his wife from the company. He goes home and found him there and fucking killed him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
See?
like he flat out just killed the fucking dude.
Holy shit.
What the fuck, man?
Let me raise my hand. Okay.
What's up, Jake?
So never forget, I got raised in a house where my dad blew his best friend's head off with a shotgun because he was fucking his first wife.
Damn.
Okay. So let me put that in perspective for you. That's how I got raised. Okay. It was no secret. That's what happened. Went to prison for 4 years. Her mother got him out of prison, got him pardoned by the governor because she said her daughter deserved what she got and he didn't need to be in prison anymore.
That's wild, man. Jake,
Wow.
dude, you always got some fucking stories, Jake. I swear.
But dog, that like motherfuckers, like, hey, bro, like, I hate to say it, but like, I mean, fuck, like, I grew up the way I grew up. That's why fucking a lot of people don't handle the way I handle shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
I told you, I mean, Jay, you know, I fucking watched that same dude fucking almost kill different sets of men with a shovel, right? Like,
Yeah.
My propensity for violence at fucking third grade was like, let's fucking get a shovel and bash a motherfucker's skull in, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And
that
I think
goes
as a
to the
leader,
resiliency.
as a leader too, like that's a situation you would want to avoid, right? And the longer you kind of let that go on, and I guess if you kind
The
of
worse it gets, man.
the worse it gets. The worse it gets.
The worse
So,
it gets, because that's what it leads to. Because there were people that knew that was going on, and they didn't do anything about it. And old boy just fucking showed up one day, and he was like, "Oh, all right."
yeah, I mean,
So,
you can't
so
have dudes.
let me ask this question. I'm gonna ask this question to both of you, right? Okay. Could you have handled that situation any differently to thwart that outcome?
I think so.
Okay. So
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say is, if the motherfucker was gonna kill him, he was gonna kill him. All right, we go down to Bragg, bro. I mean, you've been at Bragg. How many motherfuckers got their heads blown off at Bragg for fucking somebody's wife during the war? There's a big ass uprising in 2011, 12, because motherfucker, every time somebody came back from deployment, somebody on the A team killed somebody, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I would have told him straight up, like, hey, man, like, I would have put him in a room and just kind of supervise the fight and just kind of let him duke it out and just kind of sit them both down and make them understand, like, don't be mad at him, be mad at her. You know what I mean?
Okay, but now you got the same problem. What happens when he goes home and kills his wife?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about her. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying, Jay. Like that's why I said what I said as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it fucking, bruh. Like, dude, when I was on my ship, like, everybody was fucking, okay? If you get your nose in it, now you're culpable, right? You're fucking, you're in the party. And what I've seen is what's going to happen is going to happen. And the more violent the individual, the more violent the outcome.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just best to be like, hey, man. And the other thing I'll do, and I know you guys don't have that like ability, but I'm going to be like, call my chief up. Hey, fucking take care of this bullshit, right? But a lot of times they're going to say the same shit. I ain't fucking with that. Like, I've heard my chief say, I ain't fucking with that. No.
Just let it play out.
Let it. Man, we ain't fucking with that one, right?
Oh, man. But again, that's why leaders get paid the big bucks, man, because those are the type of situations that we have to fix, man. Like, dude, it's over my 20 plus years, like the amount of, and I'm sure John could attest to this, the amount of crazy shit that I've seen unfold as far as SF guys, and I'm sure it's the same with the SEAL teams, man. Like, when we say, like I guess I'm part of the these motherfuckers are not normal crowd also, it doesn't just apply to combat. Some of the crazy shit that these guys fucking do. Oh, okay, bro.
I got one for you, Jay. I'm going to give both of you guys a leadership example, okay? Young man calls you at 5 a.m. and tells you that he has just E&E'd out of a police car and dove off of the Virginia Beach Bridge with handcuffs on, and he needs your help. Okay, go ahead. John, you go ahead and start first. What would give me your course of action?
Yeah, man. Like if you're on the run, dude, there's nothing to do but turn yourself in, unless it's something where you're gonna spend, your entire life in prison and you're gonna E&E to another country and start a new life. Just fucking get that shit over with. This is like I told you guys, my brother spent 5 years in prison. He'd been around the run multiple times. And he was on the run when I was in high school. Actually, he disappeared for like 6 months. I knew he was staying in these apartments. He was like always sketched out, coming in and out, like running from the cops, whatever. I came back from a football practice one day and the newspaper was on my front porch and his name and picture was in the paper with a $10,000 reward. So, just seeing that, like if that ever happens and you're on the run, just get that shit over with. You're going to spend a couple years in there. You're going to learn some hard lessons and then you can move on with your life. It's much better than living in fear for 2 years or until you finally get pulled over and caught, and then you end up facing the same punishment anyway.
So first thing I would do is I would go to that location and recover them, right? Because I don't want them drowning in handcuffs.
Oh,
so I'll go recover them.
He called us from a safe location.
Okay, yeah. So I would go link up with them and just kind of take at least 15 to 30 minutes and just talk to him, see what was going through his mind and what his plan was. I want your primary, alternative, contingency, emergency. Like, what was your plan when you went through this, right? And then come up with a couple of courses of action and just kind of talk through them and have them see the outcome is going to be the same regardless. And then we'll go down to the police station and hopefully the cops get a good laugh out of it and they respect them for, putting that in place and they let them off easy. But I'm not harboring a fugitive. I'm not doing any of that. What'd you do, Jake?
Okay, so it was 6 a.m. Obviously, called Command Master Chief. Command Master Chief sent him to the woods for 4 months. Okay. That morning, when I came into work, there was a police officer on every quarterdeck in the SEAL team. So there's 4 quarterdecks, right? The entry point into the SEAL teams. And they had a rough sketch of my man, but it didn't really look like him. And when I came in, I was like, Master Chief knew something I didn't know, right? 4 months later, he came back to the teams. He had done his purgatory out in the woods, and he wasn't allowed to go to Virginia Beach. So, he
still wanted till today.
Well, he got arrested for fighting, but they didn't know who he was. They just knew he was a SEAL because he kicked out the back window of the police car and dove off the bridge in handcuffs. Like they're like, he has to be a Navy SEAL. Like no other person would do that.
That's wild, man. So he got away with it. Damn.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something petty like that, like a fight, and you're like getting away, then But if it's something legitimate, then Jay's route all day.
He would have got in trouble. He kicked out the back window of a police car. He would have got a year.
Yeah.
No question. He would have got kicked out of SEAL teams. He got a year. Like he would have got hammered. He was also my boy. So like I didn't really have nothing to do with it because I turned it over to Master Chief. Master Chief made him disappear. I just called him.
So he never got processed. So they really didn't know any of his personal information. He never made it. Yeah.
And this is, this is mid-90s. They didn't have cameras in every car now, right? Like now they would have his whole video of him getting arrested, his whole video of him being in the back of the car. They'd have the video of him kicking out they'd have all the video. But back then they didn't have video because they just had a rough sketch of the dude. Anyway, that's my leadership conundrum.
That's wild. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, John. John, where can people find you if they want to consume some of your content?
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys having me. It's a blast. I'm always watching you guys, so it's cool to come on and be part of the conversation. So keep doing what you're doing and hope you guys, continue seeing the success you're having and keep crushing it. For me, you guys can find me on YouTube at Infinite Grit or on Instagram. Those are the 2 platforms I'm most active on. If you ever want to shoot a message or have a chat, just shoot me a message on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to help however I can.
Gotcha. You guys know where to find Jake. You know where to find me. Hopefully we didn't miss any super chat, man. If we did, we'll answer them for you next week. All right. I appreciate you guys tuning in with us today, guys, and spending your Friday evening with us.
Jay,
there's
you got Jay,
Yeah.
5-day operator. Put a plug in
Oh.
for the 5-day operator. Make sure you go look 5dayoperator.com. We are sponsoring a TV show in mid-June. You're going to do 2 days of selection. If you're man enough to make it, then you're going to get 2 days of operator training. And on the 5th day, you got to conduct a mission. You conduct the mission successful, you get a prize. If not, you go home and you can think about what you did to fuck up the mission. 5dayoperator.com. Go check it out.
Mission's gonna be breaking out of a police car. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. Again, thank you for spending your evening with us, John, Jay. I appreciate you guys, man. I will see you guys next week. John, I'll hit you up with that information we talked about as far as how to package and do some of your social media stuff, brother. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Have a great night.
You too, bud.